Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Tips, where we are going to share some aspect of a quick tip to help you be that much more effective as a coach, as a listener, as a communicator. I'm Meg Rentschler. I'm the host of the Star Coach Show. And let me ask you, coaches, have you ever been in a session where you just don't seem to be able to get traction? You're feeling a bit of a spin. You can't quite figure out what's missing. My guess is you might be out of balance in one of the elements that we're going to talk about in this quick description today. So we're going to talk about the art of balance in coaching and understand that, as with many of the conversations we have in life, actually with many of the elements in life, it is about finding the right balance. Coaching is a dynamic balancing act between what the client is offering, how the coach is responding, what you might be offering with open hands, what you're doing to harvest from the client and explore what they already have within them that might be covered up by the overwhelm of daily life. So today we're going to talk about understanding versus clarity. We're going to talk about our being versus our doing, finding a balance between support and challenge, between giving to the client and taking care of self, and then structure versus flexibility. We're going to do a quick exploration of several of these elements. And very truthfully, between you and me, as I was preparing today's Tuesday Tips, I thought this probably deserves a deeper dive in a Star Coach episode. So we might very well be doing even more of an exploration of this in an upcoming Star Coach episode. The Star Coach Show does go live every Wednesday. A new show comes up, so be sure to be following that wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's explore a couple things to think about in the way of balance when we are having communication with other people, beginning with finding a balance between building an understanding. What does the client need to explore? What are they struggling with? What's happening in their present state? To helping them determine what is the thing that is going to be the focus of the conversation, the focus that's going to help them make even a little bit of movement around that particular thing. So we're always finding a balance between what's happening in the here and now without getting seduced by the problem, without getting so sucked into the problem that all of our question and focus is on the problem. We want to find a balance between, has the client had the opportunity to share what's going on in the here and now enough so that we have a place to be able to ask them, and what is the thing that you want to be different? What is it that we're working toward together to help you create a difference in this, to begin to get traction moving forward? It's really finding that sweet spot, using the client's energy to help define the session's purpose while not having the client feel like they're getting cut off or not being able to share. So zoom in, zoom out, kind of get some perspective and build that understanding. Clarity versus understanding is our first balance point. Our second balance point that we're going to talk about today is being versus doing. I often say to my students in coaching programs, if you move too quick to doing without depth, that doing is going to be probably not to the same level that the client needs, and is often where you get that spin. Because if you start asking the client right out of the gate, what are you going to do differently, before they understand, before you've challenged them to think about the beliefs they have, the things that are getting in the way, the create the really clear vision of what they're working toward. All those are absolutely key to create that insight and awareness into appropriate doing. So focus on the client's being, on that awareness, the insight, reflection, emotional processing, all the kinds of things that ultimately will translate into deeper committed actions, clients' full buy-in to what they're going to do. We've got to help the client create insight so that the choices that they make are that much more powerful. So ask things like, what are you noticing? What are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about the situation? How do you want to apply that learning moving forward? That creates that much more meaningful doing when the depth has occurred. Our third balance piece is the balance of support and challenge. As coaches, we are both supporting by building rapport and understanding and trust and, you know, that mutual respect. All of that comes in support. We're building understanding. We're building the relationship so that the client can share those things that are important to the client. And yet, if all we have is support, then we're not challenging the client to think more deeply, to explore what they believe to be true, to look at what they might be doing to get in their own way, what they want to do differently, what the goal is that they're really working toward. So we've got to find a balance between support and challenge. If we are imbalanced, we're either not, we might be helping the client feel really good, but not being challenged to move forward, or feel so challenged and overwhelmed that they don't believe that you are empathetic and meeting them where they're at and trying to understand what their situation is. So the dance between the two is absolutely critical in building clients' readiness for change, in building their ability to look within. They've got to feel safe to look within. And yet at the same time, if we never look within and explore, we're not going to grow. So be in that place of helping a client understand that coaching is a balance between support and challenge. Saying things like, I believe that you're whole, resourceful, and creative. So I'm going to ask you some questions that stretch and allow you to go within and explore, because I believe that you have that capacity. So we want to find that balance between support and challenge. So quick recap: understanding versus clarity was our first balance. Our second balance, being versus doing. Our third balance, support versus challenge. Our fourth balance today is going to be how we keep focus on client and at the same time need to be sure that we are embodying a coaching mindset through self-care and our own awareness of what's happening within. So we want to be able to be deeply present and focused, listen, and hold space for the client's agenda. And to be able to do that, we've got to be sure that that we're clear about our own boundaries, that we're managing our energy and our ability to manage our emotions in a session, before a session and after a session, that we avoid our own burnout, because we know that we can't serve our clients well if we're depleted ourselves. So we're always in that place of, yes, we want to serve our clients and we want to serve them well. And in order to be able to do that, we've got to be able to take care of what's happening here. So what we do, and it's emphasized in embodying a coaching mindset, we center ourselves and focus and set intention before a session. After a session, We release whatever we're carrying. We, you know, create the notes and the we leave whatever was brought from session, in the client's notes, in the follow-up, those kinds of things, so that we are in a place of balanced self-care along with client care. Now, some other balance aspects of coaching, which are just so key, is let's balance structure and flexibility. Having a coaching process, having the framework to work within is absolutely key. That structure gives you freedom to meet your clients where they're at and remain responsive to the client. So we never want to do cookie cutter coaching. We want to have that structure and still be able to remain flexible and meet our clients where they're at. And be open to whatever emerges in the session. Masterful coaching is being comfortable working in the unknown, being uncertain about what might come up next. That leads into this other balance, balancing your expertise with your curiosity and believing in the client's wholeness, and that they have talents and strengths and abilities that are often hidden by, whatever's going on in their life, but we balance our expertise with what the client is bringing to the table. And the only way that we know that is to stay curious and open and explore that. So I tell my clients, my clients who are coaches, and I tell my students who are coaches, what are you doing to harvest? Harvest from the client first. Remain curious. If you get an inkling of, oh, I know what they need to do, switch that in your mind to, well, there's something they could do, but I wonder what they're thinking first. Put that in the parking lot. Be in that place of exploration first. The revised competencies that just came out said that as coaches, we might very well share our knowledge. My whole thing about that is that, once again, it goes to balance. When are you sharing knowledge? Are you sharing knowledge before you've explored what the client's knowledge is, what the client is thinking about? Because once you start sharing, that's going to kind of shut down their own exploration. Or, sometimes depending upon how you share it, and if you share it in an offering without knowing, without prescribing, that might very well bubble up more for the client and get their creative juices going. So it's all about the balance of how we share and when we share our expertise versus curiosity. And anything that we share is shared open-handedly as an offering that the client can take or not take, tweak or revise to make it work for them. That's what the coaching process is all about. Another balance to think about is pace versus depth. So we do want to help the client explore and go deep. And we also want to honor the time that the client has given us. I have been at this business of helping people affect positive change in their life for a long time now. And I will say that it is often the time that we take for the depth that actually creates the movement within. But if we have 15 minutes with a client, if we trust in what they're bringing to the table, and we trust the process, and we trust that going deep is going to create more meaningful doing, then when you trust the client and say, okay, we only have 5 minutes left in this laser focused coaching, what have you learned so far about what you brought to the table? And how do you want to apply that moving forward? I've seen amazing things happen in 15 minutes worth of coaching. I've seen a client open up to new awareness and new experiences by given both the pace and the depth. So we do want to respect the time that the client has given us. And at the same time, short sessions do not mean lack of depth. We can find both in that period of time. So we do want to manage the time. It's our responsibility as the coach to manage the structure, manage the time, and at the same time, allow for meaningful reflection. Don't feel like you have to step over important things because you have a short period of time. Just ask the client, how do you want to apply that moving forward? So, what I want you to think about as we wrap up our quick Tuesday tips today is that balance isn't a fixed state. We are consistently recalibrating and looking at what is the client offering? How are we responding to that? How are we, you know, respecting the process and at the same time being very fluid at any given moment? It is our ongoing practice to develop sensitivity to what is the client offering, what's coming up inside of me, and am I feeling out of balance? Because if I'm feeling out of balance, then chances are that's going to reflect upon the session and potentially the relationship and the outcomes that the client's going to get. So we've got to consistently be aware of what's going on here. So I encourage you to pick one of the balance points that we talked about today, whether that's understanding versus clarity, being versus doing, support versus challenge, your self-care versus client focus, structure versus flexibility, expertise versus curiosity, pace versus depth. Just pick one to pay attention to in your next 2 or 3 coaching sessions and see how it influences, how it impacts that experience. The ability to find balance in our coaching reflects and develops much like the skills that we have in life. Like often what we do in coaching is just a reflection of what we could be doing in life and how we can apply our listening and our focus in life. It is all about alignment. And this week on the Star Coach Show, the show that goes live tomorrow, Wednesday, October 1st, is with Casey Diamato. She is going to be talking about the importance of alignment and balance to our values and to our goals while we're building a business. So tomorrow's episode is building an aligned empire. Building an aligned empire. So be sure to grab that wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch it on Star Coach Show on YouTube. Remember, a new show goes live every Wednesday. So as we wrap up this week's Tuesday Tips, I just want to thank you for being here with us. Leave a comment on how this impacted you. And until next week, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best for your success in communication, in the way that you make other people feel, and the way that that ultimately makes you feel about yourself. You take care.